Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you live from our studios here in the nation's capital. I'm Zainab Bala.
And I am Ayuba. Good morning to you out there. Indeed, it's a beautiful morning here in Abuja. Thanks for joining us today. And if today is your first day on the show, we welcome you specially. The Daybreak Show brings you latest updates every morning on weekdays 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Now, in the last 24 hours, Nigerian celebrities have taken to social media, especially on the microblogging site Twitter, to mark the first anniversary of the #EndSARS protest. In Lagos, police arrest some protesters who were out to mark the one-year anniversary of the EndSARS protest. On Daybreak, we'll take a look at the lessons learned in the aftermath of the protest. Dr. Mad Mo, poet and rights activist, joins us to discuss this.
Quite a lot of stories. By the time we get to look at the newspaper headlines, you would see that virtually all the papers are leading with the story of the #EndSARS. Now, we will also take a look at Trust TV's investigation on the proposed Mambila hydroelectric power project. Our correspondent Chijoke Okafor will be joining us for perspectives on this. For now, let's take a look at the events of 21st of October in world history. Join us again.
This is the spot marking signifying the starting point of the dam.
40. No compensation has been given to any community member and no place has been earmarked for their relocation.
Since why they go, they never come back.
And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed. But for many years, the story has remained the same. This is the site of the proposed hydroelectric power station in Mambila. But the irony is, no construction has even commenced yet.
If you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak on Trust Television. That was today in history, of course, International Nacho Day, and we also had on the October 21st, 1986, Antarctica scientists have been studying a huge hole that has appeared in the Earth's ozone layer over Antarctica. Very, very historic events, and of course we have to reflect on what happened at the time to be able to make some progress. Well, let's take a look at the dailies on Daybreak this morning, and we have Hamza Idris, General Editor, Daily Trust newspaper, in the studio to review the stories that made the headlines. Take a look at this short break, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at the stories proper.
There's something wrong. Hello?
When the situation where you find that
not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that. But in a situation where you find that they look like the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. This is Daybreak on Trust Television. Now we will be looking at the stories that made headlines today. We begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. The first story there you would see, after dilly-dallying, notorious bandit releases 30 Yauri school abductees. You would find that on page 4. The lead story, #EndSARS, 1 year after no evidence of Lekki massacre. Rather says CNN Amnesty should tender apology to federal government. You would also see another one. A rights group fails to respond to Daily Trust evidence request. PDP kicks as police disperse demonstrators in Abuja and Lagos. You'd see also the picture there showing you a picture of some of the protesters that went out there yesterday to protest the police brutality, and you'd see beside that, declared bandits as terrorists, El-Rufai tells Buhari. You would see Nigeria, Turkey sign 8 pacts on energy, defense, mining, others. That's on page 18. Ochidoma, Nasarawa monarchs condole autumn. You'd see below the picture as well. Pressure mounts on Buni to sanction Shekarau, Amosun, Arabeshala, others. These are some of the major stories that we can see on Daily Trust this morning.
Okay, let's head to the Punch newspaper this morning. Right on page 33, you'd find power producers lose 1.66 trillion naira over non-payment for unused power. And you'd find on page 9, terrorists who tried to overthrow me are in Nigeria. That's according to the Turkish president. And on page 35, federal government retain 1,500 staff of defunct PPPRA, DPR, PDF, says Silva. And the leading story right there, you'd see #EndSARS panel compensation. Lagos pay 420 million naira. NBA faults Akwa Ibom, Ogun, Oyo, Benue for shunning payments. And the riders are saying would submit report to MEC, Abuja to pay victims, says Oyo. Police disrupt rallies, disperse protesters, journalists arrested. Another rider is also saying insurance firms put claims at 20 billion, probes delay in payment. And you'd find on page 4 and page 5 of the Punch newspaper, bandits allegedly kidnap over 30 travelers, steal cows in Niger. And you'd also find Islamic title, Southwest Imams tackle Oluo, petition DSS report to Oyetola. These are some of the stories in the Punch newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper. The first story at the top, Lagos to enforce compulsory health insurance for residents. You'd see also Nigeria, Turkey sign pact on mining defense. 888 killed, 2,553 abducted in Kaduna within 9 months. PDP governors OK Anyanwu as secretary. And you'll see also the lead story on the Nation. Government, psychiatric drug test mandatory for security men. I think that's a good one.
Yes,
and we should do that.
They should do
really,
that.
yes, we should. Because sometimes when you see the behavior of some of the security agents, you wonder either they are going through some kind of traumatic experience or maybe they are under some influence of some narcotic or intoxicant. Really. Also, the next story there, you would see the writers there saying, Minister list #EndSARS response measures. Protest in Lagos, FCT Ibadan, Osogbo, Benin, Jos, Akure, Enugu, Ilorin. So These are some of the major stories. Then, of course, not forgetting the stories about CBN saying it is targeting 75,000 yearly jobs for young graduates. Well, if we can do that, I think that will go a long way. These are the major stories on the Nation newspapers.
It seems most of the papers are picking up the NSAS, anniversary as their lead story. Now, the Daily Sun, you'd find Kanu's absence in court will escalate protests, agitation. That's a lawyer is warning the federal government. And a writer is saying dialogue with agitators, CNPP urges federal government southeast governors. And the Daily Sun is also leading with the hashtag NSAS, protest in Lagos, Abuja, Cross River, others. And they'd also find PDP governors meet over convention. And on page 8, you'd see Kaduna wants federal governments to declare bandits, kidnappers, terrorists. That's according to RFI. So most of the papers today are leading with the NSAS.
Well, again, we will introduce the General Editor Daily Trust newspaper, Hamza Idris, in the studio, our newspaper reviewer for today.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right. Well, the Daily Trust leads with the story about the hashtag NSAS. Of course, it's not the only paper leading with hashtag NSAS, but this time around with a different tone, saying that there's no evidence of this Lekki massacre. It seems to be towing the path of what the government have been saying all along.
Well, we didn't join the bandwagon at initial. Since 2020, October, the night of the incident, we were very cautious. And because we wanted evidence, because the media is key to setting the record straight. And by the time you just join the bandwagon, and then at the end of the day, you realize that there are issues here and there that could not add up. You just have to tell the truth. It's like propaganda. If you keep telling it, then, it sticks to the memories of people and history. Yes, that night on 28th October, we also saw videos. We kept reviewing them at night before we went to bed. And then at the end of the day, we went with something neutral. Because we are unable to, pin all the claims to specifics. Now, 10 days after the incident, we detailed our reporters in Lagos to look for families of victims who were purportedly massacred. And we went to hospitals. At the end of the day, we were unable to come out with names and then addresses of victims or even their relatives. We went further to now open a portal on the Daily Trust website, calling on Nigerians to please volunteer, including families of victims or friends and associates of victims who lost their lives, specifically on at Lekki Tollgate. That if you don't want your identity revealed, just tell us that okay, we are missing Mr. A or Mr. B or Mr. C. And this is the address, this is the phone number of the person, this is here where he works, or this is the address of his father or mom or whatever. Because nobody comes down from the moon. Everybody has, an address. Nothing.
Well, with the NSAS, massacre that happened that night, some would say, well, it looks like that incident remains a mystery.
It is indeed, especially if you check the definition of massacre. It says mass killings, deliberate mass killings by political actors or at the instance of political actors to wipe out certain group of people because of their belief. It's not about killing 1, 2, 3, but even one life is important.
Right.
But what we are saying, targeted massacre, this is where, honestly, we did not agree as a newspaper.
Okay, so now would you disagree with CNN's report, on this?
Yesterday, let me tell you, we reviewed some of the things. Like, last year, CNN also said 35 people. Later, they reduced their figures to 2. And then yesterday, they had a short story. They spoke to the parents of one young man who was reportedly shot at Lekki and taken to hospital where he died, from 35 to 1. The same thing with Amnesty International. They stood their ground. Yesterday, they issued statements to all the newspapers, TV stations. We immediately replied them that, please, you said 12 people have been killed at Lekki. Can you help us with their identities, their names, address? And up till the time we went to the press, there was no response from them. So what we are saying, what we are doing here is to fact check. We're not really siding with the government, but we want to hold people to account.
So does this validate the report we saw sometime last year, November 2020, where the legal team representing the Nigerian Army in the NSAS panel said that there was no petition against the Nigerian Army? Is this a validation of that?
It might be, because when you accuse, you have to prove.
Right.
Yes, panels, courts, they are not Father Christmas. You can't just write a petition without proving. So the military admitted that they use blank bullets to disperse the protesters. Sadly, a year ago, some people, probably because they anticipated to gain something from the protest, they mix up videos and all that and misled the world. And that was where even CNN and other media houses keyed into. You know what I'm saying? Mm. Now, they said, okay, come forward so that you can prove your case, and then there may be reparation, compensation, and all that. Of course, you can see some people who claim that they were manhandled by police operatives. They have been paid, but not during the NSAS protest, because it was the culmination of so many vices that we had the NSAS. But our interest here in the Daily Trust is to actually prove what really happened at Lekki. Some people died last year in other places. No doubt about that. We reported it. But Lekki, and then the word massacre, we just want to change the narrative, to set the record, to set for posterity. And that is why we led our story with that headline, and then we followed up with what the federal government said. But we also disagreed with the minister in our story. We asked questions because he said nobody was shot, no proof and all that. But during our investigation last year, we went to many hospitals, government hospitals and private hospitals, and we saw victims there. Even though the minister said ballistic analysis indicated that the gunshot injuries they sustained were not from Nigerian troops. We are not experts in that regard, but what we are saying is that some people were shot at Lekki but not killed.
All right, now we'll see other angles to the stories. Panels were set up, of course, and we see the Punch lead with the story: Lagos pays 420 million. NBA falls Akwa Ibom, Ogun, Oyo, Benue for shunning payments. The state that seemed to be very, very pronounced in the whole panel investigation, all of that, is Lagos, which is considered the epicenter of the protest and all that. But we've seen other panels in other states seem to, mellow down some sort of. What does this say about the initial skepticism about the protesters not to leave the streets? When the government said, don't worry, go home, we are going to investigate all of this, we'll settle panels and all of that. Where does that leave us?
In the aftermath of the NSAS protest, it wasn't a one-day event. The violent encounter in Lagos was the zenith of what transpired. But obviously, if you compare what happened in the south and north, you realize that not much, apart from Abuja, which is federal capital, not much was recorded in most of the states in the north. You saw the real protests in the south, Lagos, Osun, and other places. The setting of the panels across the states was at the instance of the federal government as one of the conditions given by the promoters of the NSAS, that okay, there should be panels to address the grievances of Nigerians in relation to activities of the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SAS. And the government disbanded the group, the Special Tactical Force, and then we now have what they call SWAT. We are anchoring a story on that because they are not yet on the streets and all that a year after, even though some of the people we contacted said they are meant to be a special force, not to be seen on the streets the way you see other conventional police operatives and civil enforcement agents. But back to the issue of the reparation and compensation. Most of the panels headed by judges across the states, they received petitions, they reviewed them, and then they sent their reports. About 1 week ago or thereabout, all those concerns met here in Abuja, and then a green light was given for payment of compensation to people who proved that they were manhandled by SAS some over 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and all that. And we are still watching, but the skepticism of some Nigerians and civil society organizations, the skepticism are still there. You can see in one of the papers saying, in order to avert recurrence of some of these things, that we should subject our security operatives to drug tests. And I like your observation that you said probably they are doing some of the things based on influence and then trauma. So we should look at it both ways for fairness. The condition under which our troops, I'm talking about the military, Army, Air Force, Navy, and then talking about police, civil defense, immigration, customs, and all that. The condition under which they are operating is so pathetic when you compare them with their peers in other climes. And sadly, what we've been doing throughout between last year and now, and even before then, is to always blame them. Sometimes you see 30 soldiers killed. The empathy is not there. From the media, from any other person.
Really, yes. And it seems like it goes both ways. Yesterday we saw the protest, whether protest or whether demonstration for the 1-year anniversary. And there was this clampdown on not just the protesters, even on some journalists who were on the field, to report the issues and all of that. And one of the demands, that the NSAS is making is looking into the welfare of the security personnel themselves. But it doesn't seem like the security personnel themselves recognize that as something genuine.
Yes, like in Lagos, they obtained permit from the Commissioner of Police. I'm not speaking for the police. I'm just setting the record straight. He said the permission was given to them to voice out their grievances within 3 hours or thereabout. I think between 8 and 10 or 8 and 11. And then he said, will you sign that within these hours you will voice out your feelings and then disperse peacefully? They said yes. He said, okay. Anything thereafter, we will tackle it the way we think is right, so that the process will not be hijacked by hoodlums. They say, okay. Now, 3 hours after, instead of the numbers to reduce, you understand? That was when some people...
But we didn't
for some people, the 3 hours, at what time does the 3 hours starts? Because for some people, the time they showed up, that's when the 3 hours starts. So yes, we are taking our adjust from this African time. Yes, in some places, if you say you will start your event at 7, people will expect you to start your event at 7. And you are rounding up at 10. But this also brings up the issue of if a group of people wants to protest, for instance, they write to the police seeking permission or notification. Which one is it? And what's the provision of the law?
They are given permission. You see, processions, demonstrations, or whatever, it's just semantics. It's allowed. But it's not just an open-ended something. There must be terms that, okay, there should be etiquette. Okay, you should do A, B, C, D, but don't do E, F, G, H. By the time you do E, F, G, H, it is an affront. It is an attack on authorities. You understand? That is it. Now, for this, in Abuja, those that were tear gassed from the
Unity Fountain.
Yes, Unity Fountain. They headed to National Assembly, and then along they were intercepted. We don't know why they were intercepted. They were asked to disperse, and then when they resisted, they were tear gassed. We don't like it. We didn't support that.
So my concern is, at what point do we engage violently? Like, at what point does the security or the police engage violently, tear gassing protesters and all of that? Is it at the point of when peaceful protest or demonstration is ongoing, or when it becomes out of control, where there's breakdown of law and order?
Yes.
All of these things.
Frank Bengwa will be the right person to answer that. But in journalism parlance, we also believe in this adage that where your right, stops, that is where the right of another person starts. Now, assuming you block the road, said nobody should move. Is that protest? A peaceful protest should not infringe on the rights and privileges of other people. Who knows? Maybe a pregnant woman, a family struggling to take her to hospital, and then you block the road. And in Nigeria, miscreants always take advantage to wreak havoc. This was what happened in Lagos last year. Most of the NSAS protesters, wonderful Nigerians, they meant good, but hoodlums joined them, and then some politicians who wanted to score cheap goals, they started supporting them, and before you know, the whole idea about police brutality changed to we want to change the government of Nigeria.
Okay, so would you say common Nigerians need to be educated on the guidelines, for conducting some of these protests?
Excellent. That is it, because you cannot just tell people not to voice out their grievances.
Right.
Yes, and demonstrations, protests, and all that, they're just one aspect, and they tend to be spontaneous. You understand? In some places, that led to revolution. You remember the Arab Spring, and then so many things like that around the world, where when people are not feeling that they are being treated fairly, they now come out en masse to tell the world, to tell their leaders that, look, we are tired of this. This is allowed. It is allowed, but Nigerians must be sensitized that when you are given permission to go out and speak out, it's not a license for you to go and break the shop of somebody and loot. It's not a license for you to break the windscreen of somebody. It's not a license for you to set houses, symbol of authority like police station. Up till now, we are unable to rebuild some of the structures. Look at what happened in Lagos. For so many months, people started trekking to their places of work because they went and set ablaze dozens of public mass transport buses. Is that protest? I think it is wrong. So enlightenment is key, and is something that the federal government, non-governmental organizations, civil society activists should invest heavily on. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning and for giving your thoughts. We've been speaking with Hamza Idris, the general editor of Daily Trust newspaper, newspaper reviewer for the day. Of course, all the stories on the dailies today are all talking about the hashtag EndSARS 1 year anniversary and the aftermath of all of that, and that's why we are reviewing that. Our next guest will also be talking about that. He is a poet and human rights activist, and he'll be giving us perspectives on this same issue of the protests. Stay with us, we'll come back and then continue the discussions.
African fabric is finding its way to the global stage. But Nigeria is losing out on big textile spenders as the local industry faces imminent extinction.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
From over 180 textile mills in the 70s, only about 25 mills now operate at less than 40% capacity.
I'm an employee of Arewa Textile PLC before it closed. After a month, I was just like a madman.
In a day, they laid off 4,500.
The once thriving sector struggles to compete with an annual import of $4 billion.
Smuggling is the order of the day.
For manufacturers, we cannot compete.
We visit the nation's textile hubs to seek answers to why the sector has failed to return to its glory days despite government's intervention.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Nice to see you, sir. You got a 10-year-old son, a 12-year-old son. He's a shill boy. Yeah. And how did he get to that stage? You allowed it to happen. You allowed it to fester. It's like a cancer.
It's a failure of the family, a failure of the society, and a failure of governance.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
To operate within the context of the law with much respect to human rights.
Suleiman, Aya, and Tari, all from the Sulubawa clan, with a unique wealth of culture and deep love for cattle, which truly reflects their sense of family. But over time, everything changes, with no lands for grazing. Experience the incredible story of the Fulani people, loved ones they must protect, the journey they must take.
All right, welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. It's now time for our first discussion on the show. Now, Nigerian celebrities have taken to social media, especially on the microblogging site Twitter, to mark the first anniversary of the EndSARS protest. A year ago, it was reported that EndSARS protesters were shot at by personnel of the Nigerian Army at the Lekki toll gate, an action that led to the loss of lives and the allegation that federal government has vehemently rejected. Marking the first anniversary of the EndSARS protest, popular Nigerian musician and social crusader Folarin Falana, fondly referred to as Falz, tweeted 365 days ago, Nigerian citizens were shot and killed at the toll gate by our own military men. Now, fresh and damning facts are emerging. Okay.
Yeah, you know, well, a lot of facts have emerged, indeed, you know, like we are seeing that, well, Daily Trust, for instance, is reporting on its lead story that there's no evidence and all of that. But before we begin our discussion proper, there's a clip from what happened yesterday in Lagos, and I would say, yes, specifically Lagos, the aftermath of the protests of the 1-year anniversary. Let's take a look at that before we come back to our guest.
We are live. We are actually live. We can't just bring it out. Nothing has happened. Officer. Please, you are holding guns and you are coming to Stand back from me, please. Bring it down.
Let them bring it down.
You are pushing against me. Step back. Step back from me.
Just come down.
I'll drop my hand when you step back. Step back from me. Let go of it. 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 Let go of it.
What did I do? I also have my ID card. What did I do?
This is live and direct at Lekki toll gate for the remembrance of the 1-year anniversary of the EndSARS shooting here in Lekki. And here we have a lot of youth. You can see them. They are moving to the Lekki toll gate at this moment. You can see a lot of these youths in their cars, motorcycles. You can see this is what's happening now at Lekki. At this moment, you can see people watching them as they go. This is Lekki at this moment. At this moment, they are going to face the police at this moment.
I'm a Uber guy. Please, this my house. I didn't do anything. I'm a Uber guy.
Go inside there.
I didn't do anything. Uber, this my house. I didn't do anything. I'm a Uber guy. I'm in let me go. Enter. They don't carry my car, no. I'm a Uber guy, yo. I don't tell anybody for Lagos. I don't tell anybody for Lagos. You carry body for nothing. I don't carry this man. I got this to leave my house.
They have crossed the Lekki toll gate at this moment. The police are watching them. You can see how the security agencies, they are watching. A lot of police vehicles are stationed at this place at this moment. You can see a lot of police vehicles stationed, and they promised to do that, and they have done it. They have remembered the fallen heroes.
And if you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak on Trust Television, and here we are taking a look at all the issues that happened, you know, from the EndSARS protest. Yesterday there was the 1-year anniversary of that protest, and just from the clips that you saw, a lot happened, something that looked like more like a clampdown on protesters and all of that. And like I told you, we have in the studio Moses Paul, aka Dr. Matmo, in the studio, environmentalist and human rights activist, to talk to us about these recent happenings. Now, first, let's get your reaction on the 1-year anniversary of this protest. It's been 1 year. A lot of recommendations were made. Some we've seen it come to fruition. Some are yet to come to fruition. What does this, how do you respond to all that has happened recently over this?
It's still very pathetic and sad and almost unbelievable that we're still living. This is 21st century Nigeria, and you can't even put to words that on this particular season a year ago, young people, Nigerians in their own fatherland, singing the national anthem, sitting on the road, were shot at and killed, without, and were killed, were dispersed, were murdered right in 21st century by their own leaders, soldiers, and people who should protect them. I mean, I speak to you with a deep sense of pain and agony, almost unbelievable that here we are and the narrative hasn't really changed. It's really sad. It's something that you wouldn't have believed that in my time that we will see, given where we have moved, looking at the military era and, to have a democratically elected president in Nigeria, to see this happen, it's unbelievable to say the least.
But investigations are now revealing that there is no evidence, to this claim of massive killing of people, specifically at the Lekki toll gate. Even the army have reported that there was no petition leveled against the army, which is considered to be the ones, who perpetrated this.
I mean, the narrative is consistent, and isn't that that is what makes it even much worse for present-day Nigeria. I mean, this is Nigeria where people don't even believe that COVID-19 exists. People don't even believe that as we sit here in this studio, that people like you and I are in the bush right now as we speak. People don't even believe. So why should until the son of Buhari, until the daughter of Osibanjo is in the bush, until it happens to us, we don't believe. Isn't it sad that this is what Nigeria has become, where black is white and white is black? Why should anybody believe? I mean, we are the most religious people. There are church and mosque everywhere. But yet, do you believe that they are stealing billions in this country? Do we believe? No, we don't believe. Did anybody die?
No, but this is investigation. This is, investigation carried out, by Daily Trust and, some other parties that have revealed that there was no evidence. Several calls, to submit evidence, to submit names of people that were, killed in this attack, did not yield any, result.
It is sad that, and I know where this is all going, as because again we have a mass number of people who are not educated in this country, so to understand policies and governance can be very difficult. And I know the narrative they are driving, because when you use the word massacre, and this is what even makes it really deadly. We are 200 million people. So if you kill 10 people in Jos, or you kill 30 people, it's nothing. We have been reduced to just, we don't exist anymore as a people. So 12 people die, 15 people die, 10 people die. It does not. Why are you using the word massacre? This is the insanity that is going on in our country. So I understand that very much. With all the videos, with all the evidence that exists, with the people, I mean, I have friends of mine who have come out, but it doesn't matter because they came and shot. What Nigerians expect is that if everyone on that field in Lekki Gate died, if there were blood everywhere and everybody is killed, then they can now say yes.
But don't you think massacre is quite a humongous word?
When you come to a people where there are thousands of people and you shoot sporadically, that's a massacre. The fact that a lot of people had gun bullets in their legs, in their arms, and they survived, and over 10 people died with records and videos, that does not mean that it is not a massacre. It is crazy that we are even towing this part. And it shows one thing very clearly, that the government hasn't learned anything at all. And this is why the government of the day is setting the stage for the exact change that is required in this country. The more they keep towing this path, they are actually helping the resolve of the NSAS generation, to continue in their own resolve to be able to bring the change that is required in this country. Because, like they say, our people, our leaders know they hear word. They know they hear word.
But are you concerned about the mayhem, that followed the NSAS protest? A lot of people said, look, hoodlums hijacked the whole process. It defeated the whole, essence of the process and all of that. Are you not concerned about that?
I am quite concerned, but what is even more the danger there, and I'm happy that I can speak here because I had to tell the people in Abuja to stand down when we saw clearly SUVs, government-looking people brought in hoodlums, and the narrative and the sequence hasn't changed ever. Every time we come out, you will see either politicians or government officials who, here in Berger, we caught some of the hoodlums, who gave the names of the people, who paid them to come and inflict us. So what are you talking about? Who is paying the hoodlums? And I'm saying it on my honor here, that we have record that shows that even with names of some of government officials who paid these people to come and cause this. So you come out and say, hoodlums. Who are the hoodlums? Who paid the hoodlums? Who are they working for? Consistently, for days and weeks, the NSAS people organize themselves. Never in the history of this country that people, young people, came out, they kept the traffic in order, picked after themselves. They were accountable, responsible, and then from nowhere, boom, hoodlums take over. Can we stop this madness going on, please?
So would you say we don't have, a positive atmosphere for peaceful protests in Nigeria?
Because, again, this 1 year later, we are talking. The government completely, you can see how they have become irrelevant in the context of if I'm speaking the way I'm speaking, and 1 year later, they are still stopping us in Abuja, dispersing people in Lagos. It shows that the government hasn't learned anything, but does not have what it takes to even close the gaps. I mean, again and again, opportunities have been given. But again, it shows clearly you can't give what you don't have. It has shown clearly that this mindset of this crop of leaders that we have in 21st century cannot even close the gap, cannot interact, cannot hold meaningful conversations. I see what is on here, asking CNN and asking Amnesty International and asking that nothing happens. It shows that they don't have what it takes. And what it clearly also, the handwriting is that they have to give way. They have to go. That is what it clearly shows, that they are not abreast with reality.
Okay.
They're not even seeing what is coming.
Okay, many were of the opinion that the NSAS started as a protest, but it's now becoming like a form of a movement. Are you of that opinion as well?
It should be. I mean, idealistically, that is what you would expect. And for me, working on the grassroots, what we're doing, because I can tell you clearly here that the NSAS generation, this is the generation that can deal with the menace that we're having. Whether you're talking about Boko Haram, you're talking about the banditry and the ISWAP, they can meet them energy to energy. The people we're talking about holding people in the bush, look at the TVs and the news every day. They're between 20 and 35. The NSAS, that's the NSAS generation. The reason why the crop of government that we have today cannot deal with them is that, number one, they don't understand the energy. Number two, they don't understand the mindset. Number three, they can't deal with the ideology. It is the same way the government cannot deal with the banditry. They can't understand the NSAS generation. The NSAS generation, given a place in government, in 48 hours, you won't have any issue of all this nonsense going on in our bushes. And I can tell you that. So what we are working at and what we expect to see is this same energy converted into a mold that can bring forth the next governance. This is what is expected to be. This is what any right-thinking person, even in government, will expect.
So when you say NSAS generation, do we hope to see this same energy in 2023?
Absolutely. This is why you can see, irrespective of the warning, irrespective of what happened in Lagos, stopping us from even going to the NAS, they are still out. We're saying, you want to kill? Come kill us, we're here. This is what we're saying. It's a generation that is articulate, that understands what the narrative of the 21st century, that is objective, but much more than that, it's a fearless generation that wants the right thing done. And yes, come 2023, we want that same energy to hit every polling booth in this country so that we can have a 21st century Nigerian that is beyond tribe, beyond ethnic divide, beyond our political parties. We need a Nigerian president. We've never had one. This is what we expect. This is what is gearing up. This is the energy we want to see come 2023.
Well, one will say that, well, the demands, of the NSAS movement have been met. The SARS has been disbanded. Panels were set up to look into the issues that were raised by the NSAS protest. Isn't it time to let go? I mean, looking at the response of government.
I would say it is very rhetorical and very baseless and useless when you just change nomenclatures and think that something will happen. It's the reason why nothing, in quote, in this context is working in this country. Because it's rhetoric. It's just nomenclature. It's just what you call skin deep. It's religion. We're not dealing with the root cause. This is why, sitting here today, like I said, we're not even safe in Abuja. I mean, we have it on record. Have you ever seen the insanity we're living in, that the immigration officer will come out? Are we having this discussion to say that they gave bags of rice? This is a press conference. This is Nigerian government coming out to say we gave bag of rice to bandits so that we can save our life. In this same country, we have it in the news that 20 million was paid so that my president's jet will not be shut down. Are we truly having this discussion? So it's rhetoric. You say one thing, but we know it's plastic. We know it's nothing. It's just symptom window dressing. The root cause is still there. And this is where we're driving at. Because until that is done, we don't even have a future in this country.
How do we move on from here? Government will say we have a responsibility to ensure that there is law and order. We have a responsibility to uphold the rights of others who are not involved in this. How do we balance these two sides? How do we reconcile these two sides? On the one hand, we have people who are, who said, well, we are aggrieved. We do not like the way things are going, and so we are going to protest. On the other hand, there are those who do not necessarily think that there is anything wrong. And so both rights must be protected, and that's the position of government. And I'm not making a case, but, just talking about how do we ensure that there is balance, that everyone's right is protected, in this same country where we are.
I mean, opportunities 1 year later has been given to the government again to see how to right these wrongs. But they have failed once again. If a people who would clean up after themselves, make sure that the traffic is well placed, would raise their own funds, would carry out campaigns, we held hands together when the Muslims were praying. Same thing happened when the Christians were praying. For the first time in the history of our country. If a people that will do that, wouldn't it be, if I were President Buhari, I will show up at Lekki to address my children. This is what is expected. I mean, what I expect to put the balance, 1 year later, you know that these people are going to come out to do an anniversary, memorial, for the people that were killed and how they were displaced. The soldiers and the police should be the one to guide them and make sure that they are allowed to do what they need to do. They are here to protect. This is their job. Why are they giving ammunition? Why are they soldiers? Why are they police? To protect these people. But right here, like I said in Abuja, young people with clubs and knives in Secretariat came against us, and the police stood and were watching, waiting to see us killed. I gave the order and tell the people, disperse. Nigeria is not worth dying for at this point. We would live to see. So what are you talking about balance? The Nigerian state is the balance. Ensure that the people are safe. I mean, what more opportunity are we asking to be given? Everything that this government needs has been given to them. They have the power, they have everything at their disposal to ensure that balance is given. But again, like I said, black is white and white is black. That is not the case. What you would expect is that they will surround the people and allow them to carry. Buhari came out in 2014, 2015 here. Was he accosted? He came out on the street against the former administration. Was there a counter protest against them? The Jonathan administration, did they pay people to go and dislodge them?
Okay. Now, according to reports, the protesters in Lagos were given just 3 hours, to protest, and after that, everybody was supposed to, disperse. But the police are saying they were going beyond that time limit they were giving. That was why they were clamping down on some of these protesters. What are your thoughts about that?
Sometimes it's just almost, even in the heat of, at the height of the COVID-19, when George Floyd was killed, the entire America came out, including people like former President Barack Obama and all the people. They came out for days. So you are asking a metropolitan city like Lagos for people to gather, and you are saying we'll give you 3 hours. It's a way of saying that, the government is just saying that, okay, the best thing to do is just give them this so that they will not be able to do. Even here, how are you able to organize ourselves? On Friday, we can't even move in the city of Abuja just for prayers. On Sundays, when people gather, you cannot even move. And then you are saying you are giving them 3 hours. If the government, like I said, is just window dressing, what are they sitting down in their offices and they are in their something doing? Why can't you even allow them to have a whole day? What is the meaning of that? Let's ask ourselves. Give them 3 hours, let them go. You are looking for an excuse to say, you're looking for an excuse to kill them. This is what the government is asking for.
Now, we started with talking about about evidence of the Lekki massacre and the killings and all of that. And it seems like this is something that has gone around the whole world. That's the belief that, there was massacre in Lekki Tollgate. And, like we said, investigations are showing that there was no massacre. Are you saying you do not have confidence in the reports and the investigation that was conducted in that regard, or the panels that were set up, to investigate these issues? Like I mentioned that the legal team representing the army said that there was no petition against the Nigerian army. So is it that the people did not come forward to present their case? Or is it that the panel is not presenting, the facts of what actually happened? What exactly happened?
It's very funny, and this is what keeps going on in this country. It's like if somebody is asking right now that show me evidence of any police collecting bribe in this country, where do you want me to go and get the evidence from? You cause a pandemonium. You're looking for people. I mean, like I said, can they come out and say that nobody died? There are video evidence. People are missing. People have died and we have records. What they are asking for is that they want everybody to die. So the word massacre. But I'm saying that when you come out, soldiers were there, the reports are there. And today, because trust is already broken, am I to believe CNN or believe Lai Mohammed? Ask any Nigerian. Can Lai Mohammed believe himself?
So is this a product of the lack of trust in government? Is that what you are saying?
There is no trust.
Is the reality?
The reality is that people died, but you are saying people did not die. And there are videos, and there are families that have come out. And then you are saying people didn't die. So are we...
You said there are families that came out.
Yes.
But we do not have names. There were inquiries for the names of those people that were killed, and there was no response to that effect. Daily Trust in fact, did an investigation on that and requested for names. As at yesterday, Transparency International was, asked to send names of the people that were killed in that massacre. There was no response to that effect. So how do you prove that there was indeed a massacre?
So the evidences that are there, the videos, some of the videos that are there, that some of the people that were killed, that's no evidence. That's a question I'm asking.
No, these videos could have come from anywhere.
Exactly my point.
So if the video is genuine and there's a request to submit the names of the people in that video and nobody responded,
you believe that?
No, I'm asking you, do you now not trust the investigations? Or what exactly happened? Is it the panel that you do not trust, or is it the investigation that you do not trust? Which one of them?
So I'm asking that you are saying that those videos could have come from somewhere or anywhere.
Yes.
So that's the question I'm asking. If those videos are no evidence, what else should be the evidence? Here we are.
So are you saying we don't have what it takes to verify some of these videos that we saw come up?
I mean, the question I think is to all of us. Because if they are saying that those videos are not, nobody died, and we have evidence of videos of people who were shot. I mean, I could share the guys that survived, the ones that, there's a guy who was shot right in the heart. There were people whose legs, and we have those videos. And we're saying that we don't have evidence, so I don't...
No, people died. People died. But whether they died as a result of the shooting that took place or for some other reasons, that is entirely a different conversation. People died. But the death that was recorded, does that qualify for a massacre?
That is the point I'm saying. I'm saying that it's what massacre is when you come against 1,000 people and you shoot a barrage of soldiers and police and you shoot. That's a massacre. If you're asking for 1,000 dead bodies, then is the narrative of the rhetoric of the Nigerian state, where it doesn't matter if 12 people die in Benue or 30 people died in Jos. The Nigerian state is looking for 1 million people have died, and it will shake. Today, as we sit here, if one person dies on the road, it doesn't even make any news. People have been dying in southern countries, it doesn't even make any news. This is the danger of the narrative being driven today in Nigeria. So you want 1 million people to die before you acknowledge we have moved from humanity to inhumanity. You are saying that the 10 people that died don't matter. It's not a massacre. What we're saying is that they act. Because you could see, because we live in 21st century, with the videos flying everywhere, even the soldiers are taken aback. It's like saying that nobody was stopped yesterday in Lagos. But there are videos.
But those videos, do you agree that those videos, some of those videos, did not happen at the time of that protest? Some of those videos that went viral on social media were old videos.
I mean, you're talking about some of those videos. Of course, we live in 21st century where technology can do anything. But we're talking about live videos that took place. There are videos that cannot be doctored. We're talking about live videos. Would you challenge the video of DJ Switch, of what happened right there, and some of the other videos that took place? I give you an example. I have gone on a few occasions to deliver millions of nairas to the herdsmen between Kogi and Edo State. I have done that myself. Ask me for evidence. My evidence is to bring here in the studio the people that I rescued. But here we are. I'm sitting in the studio and looking clean. Would I ever have an evidence to show you the people that I interfaced with? But I'm telling you what I did myself. I was in the bush for 7 hours. So you see, we will continue on this trajectory and this narrative until we lose our country. Is that what we are asking for? Is that what we are asking for?
So what should the government do? What should be their response, to the whole EndSARS situation?
I mean, like I'm saying, and because it's one thing, I don't hate Nigeria. The EndSARS generation love Nigeria. They can give their life for Nigeria. And this is where also the balance needs to be drawn, to separate between the leaders and Nigeria. We don't hate Nigeria. Nigeria is the only country we have. But our leaders are somewhat clueless and irrelevant because they are not understanding how to bridge the gap. This particular leaders right now, they've been handed the greatest opportunity to move Nigeria from where it is to where it's supposed to go. An anniversary like this is taking place. And like I said, if I were the president of Nigeria, I will show up in Lagos to talk to my children. The gap will be bridged. We will go beyond just trying to masquerade whatever is happening. I know, like you know, that the Nigerian security architecture is less than 1% of the total population, which means that this is time to even recall back some of the retired people, because Nigeria essentially is at war with what is happening. The fact that I can't travel from here, to even Kaduna, people can't even travel to Kaduna right here. We can't move around Nigeria. It tells you that we're living in a very dangerous time. And I'm saying that this generation can actually help this particular government to fix it. This is time to recruit in mass, some of these young people, get them into strategic, deliberations and conversations to see how we can bring an end to this. We're asking, here we are in Abuja where PAMSEX own chains of hotels everywhere. Go to Gwarimpa, 5,000 housing units just lying there, waste, with nobody. You are living side by side where young educated people can't even afford a one room contained, and then you are here with 5,000 housing units empty. This is what the EndSARS generation is saying. How much do you need? One person has billions of naira.
So the EndSARS protest is not just about police brutality.
Oh no, it's police brutality. It's, how do I put it? It's just a metaphor. We're saying that we want an overhaul. We need a total change. This is 21st century where, as an environmentalist, every bush in Nigeria, by satellite, we can locate all the people causing mayhem in this country. We're asking for a digitalized leadership. We're asking for a Nigeria that can be, every state capital in Nigeria can be like Dubai, because we have what it takes. We are so rich. What is happening? Look at Zamfara. Zamfara probably has more gold than South Africa and Ghana put together. I am an environmentalist. Nickel in Kaduna State is about the purest in the whole world. This belt called the Middle Belt of Nigeria can fill the entire Africa. And yet we have young, able-bodied people who are doing nothing. It's just a gap. There's so much energy. This is why we have the banditry and the Boko Haram and people. This energy cannot be destroyed and it cannot be created. It can only be converted from one point to another. And I'm saying to this government that we need to convert this energy into useful and usable product. Because if you don't, it will either destroy or it will build. And this government have been giving this EndSARS generation are awake. Use them. They are begging to be used.
So do we say the EndSARS generation is begging to involve youth in governance?
This is exactly what it is. It has even gone beyond. It has shown you a pilot scheme by looking after themselves, raising their own funds. By now, in a society that is very progressive, you will even find out what is the ingenuity. How are you able, instead of blocking even their channels of raising funds, you should use them, because that's where the world is going. Everything that they've done is to harness it, is to take advantage of it. They are asking, look at what we're asking. We're on the street and saying, you police people, you should be paid better. I sit here, my father is a retired police officer. My immediate younger brother is a police officer. whom I gave the house I built 25 years ago because he can't even afford. So this is no rhetoric, this is life.
Okay, now talking about police welfare, we've seen, the brutality that happened yesterday. And it seems like the police are not in line with the demands the NSAS is making on their behalf.
This is the rhetoric I'm talking about. So if I say certain things here now, I could be held accountable. But when we are in the Unity Fountain and in the fields, these police people, they come to us and say, guys, thank you for what you're doing. You are the ones that can do this for us. We are really suffering. And then I can be held to say, give me the names. So they can be sacked? Can we go beyond this? Because this is our country. What we are asking, the NSAS generation is asking that let's fix this country for all of us. So you're asking me to now give you names of the police officer that spoke to me as an evidence to show that they are aggrieved?
All right, now, you talk so well about the NSAS protest, and all of that. There are those who disagree that, this NSAS thing, they are just a bunch of troublemakers, people who just don't want peace. They are just, after political actors and all of that. And so it's not a cause that should be allowed to be run. And of course, if you look at what they are saying, some of them, there are some elements of truth because like you talk about the NSAS, not everybody, that supports the movement or that show up, for that protest actually share some of the genuine concerns that you have raised, as a Nigerian. So how do you deal with this, dynamics?
I mean, it's crazy and it's good that we're having this discussion. I mean, we are tagged the most religious nation on the earth, right? But look at the narrative and the stories from our churches and our mosques. Who are the criminal elements and the scammers that we have today? Are the religious leaders, in quote, who have subjected, pulverized, suppressed some of their leaders with all kinds of things, sleeping with members and doing all kinds of things. Because whatever you say, whether you talk about our political circles, we have sycophants, people who do not even understand policy, much less attending to legal matters, are the ones sitting in a house of reps and legislations and in states house of assemblies. This is what we have. So we have charlatans and people who have no business and have no understanding in whether I talk about our religious group or our political parties or even people who don't, Nigerians, we don't even have a banking system. And what I mean by that is very simple. We don't even have, Nigeria does not even have a security policy. I'm not talking about strategic data and stuff. We don't. It is out of housing policy that every Libyan during the late Muammar Gaddafi, once you are 21, you will have a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom house to yourself. Out of that policy. But look at us today. So whether you talk about religious, to the polity, to governance, we have charlatans everywhere. So there is no doubt that people who are not supposed to be where they are supposed to be will always take advantage. It's about, it come back to what? Values orientation. So yes, there are people who wouldn't agree with what the NSAS stands for because again, there is no doubt you cannot remove from it. Whatever is good, you have people that would go in and make sure they mess it up, And so we have them from all over. But this is where, because everything rises and falls on what? On leadership. I was in Rwanda shortly after the genocide. We carried out a lot of campaigns. We helped the restoration to what Rwanda is today. Paul Kagame, who shut down about 600 churches. Last week, I was in touch with some of these people. Now we have healthier religious bodies, even in Rwanda. But if you raise that in Nigeria, they will tell you. Somebody is sitting down wondering, you're talking about this governance because it's a Muslim that is ruling, or it's Muhammadu Buhari that is ruling. So we have parochial mindsets everywhere. People who cannot see beyond their ethnic agenda, their political party leanings, their religious affiliations. We have them everywhere. But the leadership that will take Nigeria from where it is right now to the next level is a leadership that is above all of these rhetorics. And I am telling you that the NSAS generation represents that particular, leadership. And this is what we're asking for. The way forward is values orientation that will allow to fixing the polity. Because politics, governance determine everything. Our death dates, our birth dates, even for you to set up your religious organization, you have to be registered. So governance is everything. So our governance has to be fixed. The reason why we're having all of this insecurity, we're having the NSAS agitation, we're having the agitation in the West and in the East and everywhere, it's because we have what? A gap in our leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. You fix the leadership of Nigeria today, we'll have peace, unity, and progress.
Okay, well, quite insightful thought.
Interesting, yeah, really. We have to end the discussion at this point. It's been very, very interesting having you talk about these issues and giving us, perspectives, to the whole conversation about the hashtag EndSARS protest. We've been speaking with Moses Paul, PhD, also known as Dr. Madmo, and he's in the studio talking to us about the aftermath of the EndSARS protest. We'll be going on a short break. Well, before we go on that break, let me thank you again, for coming on the program and sharing this insight with us.
Interesting perspective.
Thank you.
All right. So let's go on this quick break, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at other discussions on the program. Daily Trust, not Daily Trust, Trust TV, even though they are all of the same mother. Trust TV did an investigation on the proposed Mambila project, and there was quite shocking revelations that came out of that. So let's take on this break, and then when we come back, Chijioke Okafor will join us to talk about this.
This is the spot, a marking signifying the starting point of the dam.
40. No compensation has been given to any community member, and no place has been earmarked for their relocation.
Since why they go, they never come back.
And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed. But for many years, the story has remained the same. This is the site of the proposed hydroelectric power station in Mambila. But the irony is, no construction has even commenced yet.
African fabric is finding its way to the global stage. But Nigeria is losing out on big textile spenders as the local industry faces imminent extinction.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
From over 180 textile mills in the 70s, only about 25 mills now operate at less than 40% capacity.
I'm an employee of Arewa Textile PLC before it closed. After a month, I was just like a madman.
In a day, a load of 4,500.
The once thriving sector struggles to compete with an annual import of $4 billion.
Smuggling is the order of the day.
For manufacturers, we cannot compete.
We visit the nation's textile hubs to seek answers to why the sector has failed to return to its glory days despite government's intervention.
latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Nice to see you, sir. You got a 10-year-old son, a 12-year-old son. He's a shill boy. Yeah. And how did he get to that stage? You allowed it to happen. You allowed it to fester. It's like a cancer.
It's a failure of the family, a failure of the society, and a failure of governance.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
To operate within the context of the law with much respect to human rights.
All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Daybreak on Trust Television. Here today, we are looking at the aftermath of the EndSARS protest, and we just had Dr. Moses Paul, PhD, who was, who talked to us about, these recent happenings as far as the hashtag EndSARS protest is concerned. Now, we will be looking at the investigative report about the Mambila project, but that will not be now. That will be later. For now, let's take a look at a report that one of our correspondents put together about food insecurity in Nigeria. Take a look at that.
Traders in Masaka Market, located in Kari, local government of Nasarawa State, say they no longer access yam from other parts of the country like they do in Benue State. Nasarawa State was known for producing yam, but with the information of these traders, they seem to be losing out.
Da dai za mu je a Nasarawa ba wai sai mu je da nisa ba. Muna samu kayayyaki da dama a Nasarawa State. Yanzu kuma duk gonan da ka je yanzu baka isa ka je gona ba, ka shiga nan a ce Fulani su kore ka ko a shiga nan kidnap a kama ka, kowa yana tsoron zuwa gona. Yanzu yanayin da muke samu kamar wayannan doyoyin nan, wanda muke samu ba ma samu shi nan kuma ba, sai da mu je Benue ko mu tallaka mu je Taraba. Ce ake samu kaya a kawo. Da kamar wannan yanzu ba ta wuce naira 18,000, yanzu a ce maka naira 60,000 ko 65. To ina ga gani kashi kuma talaka yanzu sai zo sai doyan a kasuwa kuma duk me komai riga zama to wahala kawai.
The lack of customers to buy this product is forcing traders to divide their tubers into fractions. For those who cannot afford a tuber, will have an option. Some traders who were found in yam business are out of it, and this has led them into selling less expensive food items. These two women, who were yam dealers, are now selling mushrooms.
Hey, welcome. Quite an insightful and interesting story, isn't it? But the most interesting part is that part where you see yams chopped off, and then you buy according to the amount you can afford.
So how much would that go for, the chopped part of the yam? Because I'm just wondering, I mean, are things that bad, really, for us to begin to buy it? It's really unfortunate, really, for us to go. That just shows you the level of food insecurity that we're experiencing at the moment. Do not take it for granted. Some of those figures that we see from the NBS and all of that, look, they are not just numbers. You can see it now in practical terms, how people would have to now buy chopped yams.
Chopped yams. That's if you have to eat yams. So and you just need some of it, so you have to pay, for the chopped ones.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. We hope it doesn't get worse and get much difficult for Nigerians as a whole. Well, with that, I would say we've come to the end of the show this morning, and hopefully you join us again tomorrow for another time on the program. It's been quite interesting. In case you missed, you can catch up on our YouTube channel and also follow us across all social media handles. Very, very interesting conversation today. Thank you for watching. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
And I'm Zainab Bala. Thank you so much for sticking with us.